Hello, my name is LoG and welcome to Quickies number 15, where I show you something that I think is cool in 5 minutes or less. Today we're going to talk about an improvising tool, or really like a lick creation tool that I call 2-for-1 arpeggios. So what you're really doing, it's very simple. You're taking a normal 2-octave arpeggio that you would normally play, like minor, minor 7, major 7, dominant, whatever, and instead of playing that arpeggio for both octaves of the shape, you'll play the arpeggio for the first octave, but then the second octave will be something totally different, like a different chord altogether. So if I play, let's say, E minor 7 right here with the standard shape that most people play, looks like that. 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 1, 3, 5, flat 7 of E minor, with the 3s and the 7s being flat, of course, because we're playing minor 7. So instead of doing both octaves the same sound, because that's exactly what I just did right there, I'll play the second octave something else. How about I'll play the first octave E minor, second octave I'll play D major. Let's see what that sounds like. Right? E minor, 1, 3, 5, 7, D major, 3, 5, 1, 3. So I'm jumping into that shape and practicing it like it's one thing. Almost sounds like I'm playing this, right? But in reality, if I were to use that, I would be doing it over a static E minor chord. Now this fingering's okay, it's a little jumpy, so let me figure it out a different way. How about this? Right, same thing, 1, 3, 5, 7, 1, 3, 5, 7. Just kind of puts me in position to play that shape. Or I can play the D somewhere else, of course, you can experiment however you want. But that shape I can play whenever I'm in the context where it works. So how do I figure out the context of where that works, and why did I choose D anyway? Why did I say E minor and then D? Where did I get D from? I'm just simply thinking about the context of the chord. So if I'm thinking E minor, and I'm thinking E minor as a 6 chord, right, because that's this standard, minor sound that most people play over a 6 or 2, I know that D major is in the same key, because if E minor is 6, D major is 5. They're in the same key, so they're part of the same pool of notes that I can choose from, so I know I can combine them. I don't have to do D, I can do something else in the key. I could do E minor to like A minor, that's in the key. I could do E minor to maybe C, E minor to G, any other chord that is in that key, which is really the key of G right here, I can combine. And of course, certain ones will be easier to use than others. It's always really easy to play a chord and then just simply play the chord back a number from it, so like 6 to 5. But you can experiment however you want. So what happens if E minor was something else? What happens if E minor was, let's say, was a 2 chord, right? D major would still work, because that would be 1, so that still works in that context. But another option opens up. I now can play D major 7, right? Because 1 chords are major 7, so maybe I can do that in my lead. So instead of E minor to just straight up D major triad, like that, how about I do this? Right, that's E minor to D major 7, like a literal 1, 3, 5, 7 D major. Right, very different sound. How about I do it over here? Get that note. Yeah, it's really cool sound, and again, how do I know when to use one or the other? I just know the context. If this is 2, I know I can go back a whole step and imply major 7, because that is a sound that exists over a 2 chord. It does not exist over a 6 chord, because if this is 6, D is 5, and 5 chords are not major 7, they are dominant, right? So we would have to imply that if we wanted to. Again, at the end of the day, just use your ear, figure out what sounds good, but try to experiment with this concept, learn some combinations that you really like, and just practice them like they are one entity. You don't have to practice them always split like that in your head. You can just say, I'm playing E minor. Even though it's not, it's E minor and then D major, I can think about it like that so that I can access those sounds a little bit easier. And just get them in your muscle memory and you go for it like that. So yeah, those are those sounds. What about some other ones? How about like A dominant 7th? Let's think about what we can do there. So let's pretend this is a 5 chord, normal 5 chord that you would play in a key. So that puts us in the key of D major. So why don't I play that? Why don't I play A dominant and then D major in my 1 arpeggio shape? So here's A minor, or excuse me, A dominant. That's just straight up 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 1, 3, 5, flat 7, and then 1 of A dominant, 2 octaves of the same thing. But why don't I play 1 octave of A dominant and then 1 octave of D major? So let's try that. That's pretty cool, right? It really allows you to like imply that sound. You're really hearing this when I do that, right? Because both of those sounds are within that same shape. Nice. So what's another one we can do? How about if we're going A dominant to D minor? So we're playing, like, we're emphasizing a minor chord. This is like a 5 of a minor chord. How about I just straight up imply both of those sounds? A dominant and then D minor now. That would sound like this. right? right? Really different. Really cool sound though, and again, what am I doing? A dominant, 1, 3, 5, 7, and then D minor, that's 3, 5, 1, or excuse me, flat 3, 5, 1, flat 3 of D, and then jump right back into A dominant. So you can just start, again, finding sounds that you're playing, sounds that exist in the context of the harmony that you're playing in, start combining shapes and see what you get. You can even do ones that aren't necessarily like in the key. So how about I do like, I'll do A minor, and then I'll play E7, right? So E7 is not in that key, right? But it's a very common progression because E7 is the 5 of A minor. Very, very common sound. So how about I imply that in my chord, even though that progression is not actually happening? It's really just A minor. I'm just forcing the E7 in there. So here's A minor, normal, 2-octave arpeggio. How about minor 7? One more time. There's the sound. But now I'm going to do this, A minor 7, and then E major, like that. That's E major, 3, 5, 1, 3 of E major, implying that change. How about I do it a different way? Right, so that's, again, all over A minor, E major, and then resolving. And it's up to you to figure out like how to combine the shapes in a way that sounds good and sounds, you know, full and complete. But once you get them, just start practicing them like your normal arpeggios, right? Just run them like an exercise, get them in your hands, and know, oh, I'm in a context of a minor chord, bam, I can play this shape, or bam, I can play this one. You know, you can really experiment. Some of them will be a little bit more dissonant than others, but they'll still be very useful if you practice them and you're able to pull them out, you know, whenever it's necessary. So you can even go further than that. How about instead of A minor, E7, A minor, like implying that progression, how about I imply, here's the 5 chord, up a half step minor, right? The classic pretend chord leading into A minor. That sort of sound. So how about I do that in my lead, in my arpeggio? So watch this, 1, 3, 5, flat 7 of A. Instead of continuing with A minor, I'm going to dip into F minor. Something like that. Right? A minor, F minor. F minor in particular with A major 7. That's that sound, that melodic minor sound. So I would practice that like one arpeggio, like a static shape. Get it all over the fretboard, etc., until you get it really comfortable. Yeah, I mean, there's so many you can do. You can do like E7 into F minor, right? This into that, like you're doing, leading into that pretend chord. And you resolve. You can even do like E dominant into the diminished, up a half step diminished. That's another possibility. Again, I'm like combining these shapes and practicing them like one entity. So when I get to the context where I know that combination will work, I can go for it and see what sounds I get. So just to wrap up this video, I played over a backing track that has a 6 chord, 5 chord, 4 chord, 2 chord, and then the 5 of the 6. All very common harmony, you know, contexts that you'll find yourself playing in. So those are A minor is the 6, G major, or really G dominant is the 5, F major 7 is the 4, D minor is the 2, E dominant is the 5 of 6, leading back into the A minor. And I'm going to run over a bunch of these concepts so you can kind of see what they sound like over the chords. So I'm kind of overdoing it with the concept here a little bit in the track because I'm really trying to hammer home what is happening right here. So I probably wouldn't do it as much as I'm doing it in this video because it might get old. The concept might get a little boring if you do it all the time. But I am doing it quite a bit just so you can really see what's happening. And I'm also going to flash up on the screen the exact pairs that I'm thinking about so you can experiment with them if you'd like. So hopefully you enjoy this one. I'll see you guys in the next one.